We continue our story on January 12th, 2023. A week has passed since our quartet of investigators were exposed to a terrorist attack. The building was leveled, and all witnessing officers gave reports on what they saw. For most, it was a very cut-and-dry case. Plastic explosives were set off after a murder, and among the dead was a state officer's son. To most, it appeared to be an attempt at escalating violence against police officials. However, to the four that witnessed the origin of the explosion itself, the story may not be as easy. Paul Harris, despite his memories being blank over the past 7 days, is recorded as answering questions to a recorded audience within one of the police station's conference rooms, completely lying. Robert Morgan had apparently submitted a report that he doesn't even remember giving directly to the commissioner. Something he received a letter about, commending him, yet no memories come to mind. Gert Kessinger lost control over the entirety of his bodily autonomy, spending most of the blank days in a cocaine-filled haze. Perhaps one of the few that could have an excuse on thinking this was normal. And finally, Francis Graham spent most of his time in the hospital, people just believing his false identity, not a single one asking a question. He was released in short order. Today's a special day. When the sun rose over the horizon, it came with it an announcement of martial law. The State Guard of Louisiana, acting under the orders of Major General Riet Miller, has bolstered the will and power of law. The courts are overflowing with felonious charges, everything between armed assault and first-degree murder, and the distribution of illegal firearms and narcotics. For the moment, most of the riots have been quelled, yet there's the threat looming of violent protests and interference from all angles. No one knows when the next bomb will go off, or when the next shooter will open fire on on-duty officers. In short, the following has changed in the northern area of Baton Rouge. A curfew is in effect, set from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. The police have been militarized, are under the conjoined control of the governor and the general. The courts are still active, but are notably congested with criminal cases. A temporary checkpoint has been set up through major roads leading to the contained area. These checkpoints conduct frequent and mandatory searches of vehicles that pass through. We begin with Paul Harris. This morning feels like a walking hangover. Whatever happened to you these last few days has left a distinct stain. Today's a day off, and thank God it is. How do you usually start your mornings?
I mean, Paul Harris normally just tries to drink as much coffee as he can.
So you're in your motel room enjoying a nice, fresh cup of coffee?
It's not good, but fresh, quote unquote.
Fresh. Complimentary?
Probably
Yeah,
not.
It's
It's hard to tell.
it's mostly water. However,
I mean, he don't sleep much, so
fair. It doesn't take long for your routine to be interrupted. A quick burst of static emanates from your laptop. The screen flickers on and outshines a bright blue light. You could have sworn it was off.
he's just going to walk over to it and just like turn it back on. See
It's
if it does anything.
It's already on. The fans are whirring at an uncontrollable speed. Text is appearing on the screen. It is a constant scroll that is bordered with a familiar signature. JX. This is the contact that went silent. Now, what you see is a combination of 3 different addresses. One, you recognize as being as essentially in the slums. The other is in some common residential area, while the other is more familiar. It's in the seedy part of town where officers spend their days off. Repeating at the very bottom of your screen is the words, "Help me," on repeat. There's a timestamp of 9:35 a.m.
How long ago would have that been?
That's going to be in 30 minutes. These are three distinctly different addresses.
He's going to write them down and head out and try to go to. He'll just kind of pick one at random because it doesn't seem like there's anything coordinating between the three.
All right.
That would just be like, oh, that one is more than likely what this is referring to.
So you're just going to choose one at random?
Yeah. And I assume also there wasn't a way to input anything as a response.
No.
It was just kind of a here's the message.
Exactly what it is. The address you settle on, since you chose at random, will be the one that is notably in the less well-off part of town.
Yeah, he's just going to head out to there.
Okay. So as you head out, you can't help but notice, as you open the door and you take a foot out, there's a box waiting for you.
Is this a suspiciously sized box?
It's about the size of your foot. It is duct tape closed, and the address labeled on it is on the bottom side, or somewhere out of view.
Well, he's going to take a risk and open it. Worst case scenario, he just dies out at the start of second session.
As you bend down, how do you intend to deal with the duct tape?
I mean, it'd be safe to assume he'd have a pocket knife or something.
All right. You flick open your pocket knife.
And he's not rapidly just stab straight down into it and pull down. It'd be trying his best to go gently at trying to at least get the top part off.
As you peel it off with your knife, you begin to notice that the bottom of the box is sopping wet. And once you do open it, you realize that this is a red liquid. There's something bound in a cloth within. There's no packing peanuts. There's nothing to deaden the shock of transport.
Yeah, he's gonna keep looking through it.
You're gonna unwrap it?
Yeah.
It's a severed hand. Fresh.
He's just gonna look around and see if anyone's just staring at him. Because there's a good chance of it.
Well, it's currently 8 a.m. No one's quite out yet, but you are very much holding a severed hand. Thank goodness you're in a somewhat rural part of town. But you don't really see anyone. Not anyone that stands out. No one's looking in your direction.
He's just gonna kind of close it all up. It'd be safe to say he has a car and he'd just put it in. Not much he could really do about it without, radioing it in.
You're not going to report it?
Oh, he is.
Oh, he is. So as you head into your car...
He is locally, he's not going higher up.
Okay. So as you head into your car, and you begin to radio in what you found, we are going to switch the perspective. Francis.
Oh boy.
Tonight wasn't the best of nights. The quarry have been running dry. It's been harder and harder to find just about anyone. However, you're awoken by the sound of pounding at your door. It's hard enough to sleep through the hangover, let alone through a throbbing migraine that comes with this repeated noise. You're currently in your bed. What do you do?
How aggressive is the banging?
Very much so. You hear a feminine voice on the other end shouting, "I swear to God, if you don't open this door."
I let out a deep sigh, grab a utensil out of the kitchen and slip it in my pants, so to speak. I'm probably not wearing too much. and look through the peephole.
It's a woman.
Yep.
She's a brunette. She looks familiar, probably one of your past marks. She looks tired. Track marks up her arms definitely is up your alley. She has a frenzied look on her eye as she is banging on the door and trying to peek through the peephole back at you.
Okay, I'm gonna stash the utensil I got from the kitchen into the umbrella thing before I open.
You slip the knife into the umbrella stand. You open the door.
Of course.
When you open the door, you're immediately met with an arm bracing at the door and shoving it open. Francis, you fucked with me with the last time.
I put a finger up and I think, what?
Within moments, she's reaching for her pocket.
Is it a front or a back pocket?
She's reaching for her back.
I put both hands on her shoulder real quick and attempt to calm her down.
Attempt to calm her down. How? She's breathing heavily. Her arm is moving forward. She's just pulled something out of her waistband. It's a knife, far larger than yours. And she yells at you. You son of a bitch! You told me you'd leave my husband alone.
Oh, great.
Wasn't I enough for you? She says as she directs the curve of the blade upwards. Even when your hand's on her shoulder, her left hand is now gripping at your collar. You can feel what's about to happen.
Alright, I'm gonna move my right hand towards the knife while the left hand gently touches her cheek.
What are you trying to do?
This time it's more of a seducing calm.
You've been with her before. Feel free to roll influence NPC. That should be plus your charisma.
That would be a 12. So that would be a general success. Sweetie, you need to calm down for a moment.
Don't tell me what to do. She grits her teeth. And while you might have saved yourself an excision of one of your ribs, her hand is firmly on your shoulder, gripping you by the collar and keeping you at arm's length. You leave us alone. We're done. We did what you wanted. Leave us alone.
I will do my best to leave you plenty alone.
She shakes her head. It's not good enough. Unless you contest her, she is going to push you against the wall. You can already tell by her dilated eyes that she is high on something.
I love how I got a combat encounter. Kinda.
She's breathing heavily as she presses you against the wall. And through gritted teeth, she says, you either leave us alone, or I'm cutting it off right here, right now. And she lowers her blade down to your abdomen.
Now, as much as I love the idea of you doing that,
She presses the tip of the blade against you.
I would much rather not have the incision done. So, I will gladly leave y'all alone.
Her grip tightens for a moment, and she pulls back. The tip of the knife is now away from her. Her frenzied expression eases. She releases you and takes a step back. But something strange happens. Her body begins to wobble. It's much like the gait of a shuffling addict towards a methadone clinic. And then her eyes finally look back up to you. Her movements become less her own as a puppet on strings.
Interesting. What did you take this morning?
She twists her neck towards you. Your will has been pressed upon this entity. Better yet, it's been placed upon its puppet and is taking direct control. The knife is brought up, and if you do not move, it is going directly into your gut.
I'm going to move.
You manage to slip out of the way as she stabs the knife into the wall. It's a large kitchen knife. As you back further into the building, she is between you and the exit. And with a disjointed movement, she pulls the knife from the wall. You're given a brief moment to act.
She's still currently trying to pull the knife out of the wall.
She's actively pulling it out.
This is my moment to tackle her.
Please roll to directly engage a threat. That would be plus violence.
Oh boy, I got a 9. Not good.
You attempt to grab her. Your hands slip along her slickened sleeves. You feel yourself waver. And within a moment, she slashes out. While you manage to avoid that hit, you are now splayed on the ground. The force of gravity working against you. You bruise your tailbone as flesh meets hardwood. As she rears back to strike, her legs straddle your torso. Unless you're able to intervene. That knife is going anywhere between your chest and between your eyes.
I'm going to be getting my hands ready to intervene while also trying to talk her down again.
Would you like to influence once more, or would you like to act under pressure? It seems as though she is not quite
I believe
there
act
enough.
under pressure would be best right now.
Alright, then you will roll coolness.
That would be an 11 on my end.
11?
So I'm going to be moving my hands into a pseudo X shape to try and catch her arms, not the blade.
Very well. You manage to stop the strike immediately. In this moment, her shaking flesh is compelled downwards. It's as though you're dancing with a corpse with lead bones. She's letting out inhuman gasps and grunts. The knife is placed down the center of your sternum, not yet touching, but you manage to stall it just for one moment longer.
Right, I would like to attempt to flip the situation over and try and get me on the top.
Very well. I would like you to roll either reflexes for avoid harm or coolness to act under pressure.
I will be doing act under pressure, and that's gonna be a 16.
You use the weight to your advantage. The sad thing about an automaton is that they lack the higher thinking of a man. She leans her body's weight onto the knife hand, trying to break your guard. You manage to flip her. What do you do? Explain.
Start forcing the knife above her head. Try and get it as far out of the way as I can.
As you straddle her waist and you're pressing the knife against the floor, she's shrieking like a banshee. Her wrists are contorting inhumanly to try and cut at you. Her jaw is pulling. Her chapped lips are splitting. Her eyes have gone pitch black with pulsing red bloodshot on the very corners. You have the advantage.
I would like to try and wrench the knife away by twisting her wrists more than what's already being contorted.
You hear a crack, a shriek. The knife clatters to the ground, yet remains near her hand. She's struggling against you, thrashing.
I really wish I got the soundproofing.
Good thing you don't live in the best part of town.
Yeah. So I take the nice knife and bring it up to her throat and ask if she is going to calm down.
The response you get is ineloquent. It's disgusting. It's inhuman. It is a shriek filled with mucus and phlegm as she tries to wrench control of the situation once more. Her arms trying to grab you, even with a snapped wrist. What little there was to reason with her is gone. You can't help but feel as though you've stripped away the facade.
I feel like now is a good time as any to do my payment.
Explain.
Well, first, do you think I can use the knife to cut off the vocal cord? Just shallow enough where she's still breathing, just can't shriek anymore.
You likely don't have the precision.
I
You'd likely
likely
kill her.
don't.
You can try, though.
Which one would this be?
I would say you're directly engaging a threat, so please roll plus violence.
It looks like, I don't have the accuracy for that. I got an 8.
You don't get what you want. Your knife plunges into her neck. Whatever you attempted has failed. It's not even a horizontal slice. It is vertical. Her twitching, her spasming, her screaming. It would have been hard for someone who knew what they were doing. But now, you lay, straddling a weakly pulsing corpse. Just a few seconds of lifeblood remaining within her. And in that very precipice between life and death, you see the darkness leave her eyes. And you see her skin begin to mottle. It doesn't rot, but you start to see perhaps what was hidden. Her jaw goes slack, and you begin to notice that she has brands scorched into her chest. You are now...
Do the brands go deeper?
These are fresh. You can practically smell the cooked skin.
Interesting. Do any of them look familiar to me?
No. It is what could only be described as a bisected triangle with an octagon in the center. It's clean. Whoever did this knew what they were. In the next few seconds, the last of her cherry red leaves her body. You are now sitting in a pool of blood, thankfully, only touching your skin and likely only staining the floor. How do you proceed?
Well, sadly I didn't get what I wanted, so I need to do a bit of cleanup.
As you take hold of the body, you hear footsteps. Someone's approaching the door to your apartment.
I'm going to get some of the blood on my hands and hold on tight to my wrist while the knife stays on the ground in front of me.
The door is wide open. Do you keep it as such?
I will. As of right now, as long as the knife is close enough that I can help myself if things get sour again.
You see a man in a plain t-shirt, jeans, and work boots. Close cropped hair, a man of color, approach your door. He pauses as he seemingly prepares to knock on your door, not even paying attention on what's in front of him, and he stares, face blanched.
I'm going to be breathing heavily and looking over towards the man with a panic look into my face while gripping tightly to my wrist that is currently covered in her blood, not mine.
I think, Monsieur, he says fluently to you. His accent is thick, Haitian perhaps, definitely Creole. I think you should come with me before this happens again. He glances to the corpse.
Do I recognize this man,
No,
aside from his get-up?
this man is completely
Interesting.
unfamiliar.
And who might you be?
That is not important right now. What is important is Mademoiselle Gallahan on the floor. There will be others. You need to come with me.
Oh, great.
You can tell he wasn't expecting this. Just by the look on his face, he keeps glancing down to the corpse.
I'm going to get up while still keeping my hand seeming like it's kind of hurt.
There's a truck out back. I will meet you there.
All right.
You follow the man?
I take the knife out of my umbrella thing and slip it behind me.
And do you comply with his request?
It can't be any worse than getting arrested right now for murder.
You've got a fair case going for self-defense, but you make a decent point. In that case, you follow him to the truck. Robert Morgan.
Yes?
This morning's off to a decent start. If you can ignore being shafted of all information of your situation by your demon. You were given information regarding a case, one that seemingly had nothing to do with anything on your mind currently, but at the very least it means less work for you. Today seems to be a special day, as the doorbell is rung. It's a bit early. It's around 9:30.
All right. I'm definitely dressed at this point. Wearing my service belt, just a pair of pants, and like a wife beater maybe. I have my pistol on my side, just to make sure when I answer the door, because you never know, especially with the possibility of brewing riots, what someone would want to do to a police officer. But I go and I look through my peephole first.
You can see, just by the look on his face, it's Colin West. He's plain-faced. He's just as unoriginal as he normally is. He seems to be dressed for work.
I intentionally count a good 10 seconds and then open the door. Colin, you're at my house.
The commissioner wants to speak with you. I don't have anything to do with this. He just told me to come over here as soon as I could.
Any sort of idea of what this would be about?
He sucks in a breath through his teeth. Don't know, Chief. Seemed real urgent. I got us a cab. Got some donuts in the back, too.
All right, I'll need to get dressed. Stay here, just don't touch anything. And I turn and start walking back towards my room.
You're allowing him in?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
He steps in.
The case file is still in my bedroom.
And he looks over your apartment. You can tell by the look of him he doesn't understand a lick of sense when it comes to interior decorating. Nice place you got here, Chief. The kid
Thanks,
can
Colin.
barely hold a conversation.
Worked hard for it. Do what I do, eventually you'll have something like this. I say, and I walk into my bedroom. And instead of a regular like opening door, I have like a sliding, the one that like instead of necessarily a round doorknob, it's just like a pin that you pull to shut, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
More like an Asian style sliding door, because I'm fancy. And then I go and put on a suit shirt as well as a jacket and walk out. Is he like messing with anything when I finally walk out?
He's looking at one of your various exotic potted plants.
As long as he's not touching it.
Oh,
I
he
have
is.
the
He's touching a leaf.
I have the case file under my arm. I thought I said not to touch anything.
It's just a plant, Chief. I ain't bruising
I
it.
thought I said not to touch anything.
Chief, you gotta learn how to relax.
You can't just come into a man's home and touch his things, Colin. And I just walk past him.
He gives a perplexed bodily response to that. His hands raised, his eyes fucking squinted. He looks incredulous that you would react that way to him touching a plant.
I grab a jacket off the hook as I go to the door, and I put it on in that way where I like sling one shoulder over me and throw my arm through it. Eventually, kid, you'll understand. You're an alright kid. You just gotta think. You gotta focus. Now, come on. And I walk down. I also I grab the actual doorknob. I have like a big fancy heavy oak door. I grab the doorknob and I wait outside, kind of like you wait for a dog to walk outside when you're trying to get it to go, but it just won't listen to you. I'm just kind of looking at him.
He steps out first, and he leads the way to the car.
I shut it, make sure I lock it. I turn, and I walk up behind him. And as I do, I pat him on the back and just start a regular conversation. Donuts, huh?
I don't know, Chief. Things have been real out of control recently, he says, as he begins to cross the exit of the building towards the curb.
That's why I had my service pistol on me. Never know what kind of crazy's gonna knock on the door, especially police officers. In these times.
These days,
You know, the city had respect for us once.
I just think these days there's just a shortage of good folk, he says as he glances into the driver's side window of the car that he's heading towards as though trying to make sure it's the right person. The driver looks at him blankly. You can tell that by the look on her face, this blonde woman has had experience with him before and is just as annoyed as you to see him again. This most notably is not a cab. It's probably an Uber.
I open the door for Colin. Well, I assume he stops to look in the window.
Yeah.
I just go past him. I'm used to that behavior with him, so I open the door and I just kind of like gesture inside.
He slides in and goes to the far side of the car.
I slide in and slam the door.
The woman looks back towards Colin mockingly, as though she's mimicking him peeking into the window. Jesus fucking Christ, Colin. I told you before. You just check the license plate. That's it. Is it that hard?
I just sort of look at him. I try not to give an expression, but in my head I'm thinking like, you're gonna let her talk to you like this?
He shrugs and he's like, oh gee, I don't know, miss. Things been real weird recently. Can you just take us where I put it? Did I put it in right? Yeah. I wouldn't be here if you didn't. Colin lets out a slow sigh as the car begins to roll into a even pace, getting started down the road. He settles back into the car, in the back seat, just taking a deep breath. The driver very clearly is not looking in the mirror.
I'm looking out the window, and I say to Colin, "Now, son, what was your grade on the firearms training?"
I scored decent enough, sir. Wouldn't be here if I didn't, he said, obviously dodging the question. You can tell by his face. Answer is very likely just by the grimace that he likely just passed by the skin of his teeth.
Believe me, especially in times like now, that's something you want to brush up on. for your own safety, if not mine.
I'll keep that in mind, Chief. I'm just no good with guns, he says. The car begins to pick up speed as you reach a more reasonable velocity.
If you're going to be on beats with me, you're going to be good with your service pistol.
I'll spend more time in the range then, Chief, he says,
Good.
giving you a long shrug. The driver looks back at you, Morgan. She gives you a squinted glance before saying, "You're Robert Morgan, ain't you?
That's what they tell me.
I heard they wrote another book about you."
It's hard to keep track sometimes. Who's this one by?
"I don't know," shrugs while working the wheel. "Though I would like you to roll something for me.
All right.
Roll plus your perception, if you'd be so kind."
Okay, 1 sec. 19.
19?
At least I assume we count zeros as tens.
We count zeros as tens.
Yeah, so 19.
Your eyes happen to glance up in the rear view mirror to look her in the eyes when she's talking to you. At this moment, your blood runs cool. And the time it took you to take your attention off of Colin and for the car to speed up, the just annoyingly bland boy that was training under you is now holding his Beretta to the back of your temp. The safety is clearly off. He is disobeying trigger discipline. His fingers have slipped within the guard.
Colin, I told you practice at the range, not on me. I'm just looking directly forward, still into the mirror.
You do not have that luxury. The minute that you get your remark off, the gun discharges. It's a clear miss, but you feel the bullet singe in a horizontal line across your neck. It deafens you for a gun to go off in such a confined space. The buffeting sound of wind whistling through the hole in the window coats your ears. Your body goes numb, and what do you do?
Can I just punch him as a natural reaction? Engage in combat.
Roll plus violence.
That's a 12.
Very well. You manage to land your punch, but it's a glancing strike. You get him across the cheek, but doesn't have enough power behind it to perhaps end it immediately. The gun goes off a second time in the struggle. He reaches out to grab you by the collar, and that's when you get a look at his eyes. His face is blank. It's almost doll-like in how immobile everything but the necessities are. He used to have a tremble in his fingers, which made him such a terrible shot, but that's gone now. And what else is gone is his eyes. You are now staring into the void. His flesh is dotted and mottled. The adrenaline and the trauma seemingly peeling back the mask that your once junior detective wore. This kid, you don't know when he became like this, but he's like this now, and the gun is starting to level with your shoulder. What do you do?
I'm gonna engage in combat again. I'm gonna try to slam my shoulder into his hand to press the gun against the seat and then punch him again.
What is your intention? Are you trying to inflict pain? Trying to disarm?
Knock him out if I can. Disarm as a secondary. I know I can't literally do that as a secondary, but that's my sort of thinking. I'd rather just disable him than disarm him. But
so you're trying to hit a grand slam. I understand. Feel free to roll.
Yeah, fucker fired a gun at me.
That would be plus violence.
No, 19.
All right. Just as he levels the black gunmetal with your temple, you manage to, once in your life, land an uppercut square into his jaw, causing his head to lurch back against the glass, and it shatters. You're immediately deafened by the sound of air as the car is going around 65.
As his head lurches, more like on instinct than on actual thinking, I like grab both of his hands as they're on the gun with one hand and like slam it into the T-bar that's on his side, directly trying to get the gun out of his hand.
The gun slips out of his hand just fine. He's out. He's not moving in a lot of ways, actually. His chest isn't rising or falling. The car is still moving.
There's a deep breathing. And I pop my shoulders and I pull my own service pistol. And I don't point it, but I have it like sitting on my legs, sort of pointing vaguely in the direction of the driver. That that your normal behavior in these kind of situations that happen often to you.
She looks to the side for a moment, and with a languid movement of her arm, no, with both arms, she shrugs, her head limply leaning to the side as though she had just finished going through a stroke. The car swerves.
Going to try to act under pressure to grab the steering wheel and stabilize us.
As you reach for your seatbelt and lean forward.
Well, I never said I bolted myself in, but
Okay. Do you not want to?
no, thanks, I'm good.
Okay. As you lean forward, you're blinded by headlights. The driver's head turns to the side, and you just see rage, unadulterated fury as her side of the vehicle compacts, and the vehicle begins to total. I would like you to roll to endure injury, please.
Okay, that's +0. Let's see what happens. That's a 7. That's definitely a 7.
Behind your eyes, the lights go out. Something hits your head. You feel weightless. You're in a sea of cold. And for a while, you do not think. You do not see. You do not hear. You do not feel. You do not taste. And you do not smell. So, thus, we move on to Gert Kessinger. How are you? How are the drugs treating you?
Wonderfully. My brain feels like it exists again.
That's good to hear. Because, as a wonderful side effect of your bender, the sister of one of the deceased has finally answered one of your messages. She was hard to find. Somewhere between liquor and cocaine, you managed to overpower the social drain of dancing around the subject to. She agreed. Finally, somehow, through your barely contained rants, you've convinced one of them to speak with you.
Seriously?
None of them have done this before. They act like you don't exist. They laugh you off. Even if you go to see them in person, they even sometimes don't even know who you're talking about. But today is a different day. You meet her in the alleyway between a gentrified coffee shop and a small-scale boutique. Janet Bailey. She's dressed in a mustard-stained t-shirt, her face still wearing the makeup of nights long gone. Her shifty, pale blue eyes seem to scan the walls, nails turning yellowish as she presses her fingers against her forearm. She's standing where she agreed to meet with you, and you are at the very mouth of the alley. What would you like to do?
I approach her.
You begin to move towards her. Her eyes glance in your direction, as though trying to make sense of you. She's not the first to speak. She leaves that to you.
Miss Bailey, we spoke on the phone. It's you, right? You believe what I said?
Who are you again? She says, her gaze drifting from you.
Don't you remember me? Kessinger. Gert Kessinger.
What kind of name is that? She asks you. Her
Beautiful name.
pupils are dilated. She tilts her head at you for a moment. Oh, it's you, she says. Sorry, I'm going through something right now. What did you want to talk about again? She says, cracking a yellowing smile at you.
I wanted to talk about your husband. You know,
Don't got one.
he,
Are you talking about my brother? Now, if you came in here in this alley to insult me, her brows furrow, but the muscles are very slow to move.
what's bad about your brother?
Weren't you
I'm not
talking
going to-
about him?
Yes?
He ain't my husband.
Let's talk about your brother. It's... Okay. We were speaking on the phone, and... You believe what I said. I told you all about what happened at the company, and you heard what I said, and you didn't just hang up. You actually agreed to meet me here. It's...
She looks at you for a bit, and her eyes are just glassy. She looks out of it right now. And judging by the lethargic movements and her slow breaths, it's something in the morphine family, definitely. She furrows her brow and she raises a hand to her head. And she looks up to you and she says, yeah, you were saying something about that. Ma said I don't got a brother, but I remember him, I think. It sounded real familiar. She's clueless. She once was so accepting of the fact that her brother went through this. Now it's like she's struggling to comprehend that she had a brother. Her eyes, unfocused, glance up to you for a moment, and then they look past you, and her skin goes white. You hear footsteps approaching from behind you, Gert. You hear glass shards cracking underfoot, plastic bags being trampled. What do you do?
I turn around and take a look. Hand on my pistol, just in case.
You turn, and you see two men approach you. And they are approaching you. They look right at you. Their footfalls practically echo against the pavement. You don't look like you're from around here, son, one of them says. One is a man in a wife beater and denim pants, work boots. The other is in camouflage pants, a plain t-shirt, and running shoes. They don't seem to be the most friendly.
Oh, is this neighborhood off limits for veterans? Just asking.
Now, I don't know about you, son, but pretending to be a vet, that's a mighty fine problem we're going to be having around here now, ain't we? He says. The one in the camo is doing the talking. He closes the distance, and the woman slowly begins to back off. And who are you with? The man asks you. The other man glances at the woman.
She doesn't need to concern you. Whatever beef you got it with me.
He shifts his gaze towards you. Now, I don't know much. You really don't look worth the time, son. We got business to settle. So why don't you step aside and let us do business?
How close are they?
Within a few moments, they will be within arm's reach. But right now, they're around 5 feet away from you.
Pull my pistol and shoot the first guy.
All right. Roll with your violence modifier, please.
Yep, let's, wait. Which modifier? Just taking normal combat shooting. And 2d10. Oh, I rolled a 20.
Between the eyes. He crumples to the ground. The other one freezes.
Still believing I'm not a vet, buddy?
There's a distinct silence in the alley. But what you aren't prepared for is a jolt. Please roll to resist injury. That would be using your fortitude as a modifier.
Oh yeah, okay. 20 again. And that's I rolled 17, and together with my stat, that's 19.
You feel a current of electricity shock up your body. You feel a hand gripping the back of your collar and something metal pushed into your skin. Your muscles tense, you lose your bead, and you fire. The man, freshly dead on the ground, is no longer paired with the man that is currently alive. He's charging you, while something from behind holds you still. How do you proceed?
Alright, can I shoot the guy that is charging me?
You could.
I shoot him.
Roll your violence.
That's I rolled 14, and with my violence, that's 17.
Why don't you tell us how you kill this man?
I shoot him in the heart.
The bullet hits his chest, center of mass. His body lurches back. The skin sears, and he keeps momentum. You end up with a corpse hitting your legs as he crumples into a heap. Not dead yet, grasping at his chest, trying to put pressure on it. No sound leaving his throat as cherry red paints the ground. You feel another pulse of electricity. Please roll fortitude.
See, that's 13 rolled, and with fortitude, that's 15.
There you go. The electrodes go off. Your muscles seize, but your fingers manage to slip outside the trigger guard. The woman behind you curses beneath her breath. She's frantic. Her hands are shaking. She's mashing the taser into your neck, trying to get you to stop moving. And although your muscles are convulsing and are tensing, you manage to move of your own volition. What do you do?
I move to disarm her.
And how do you do that? She's from behind. One hand on your shoulder, and the other against your neck, grasping a taser.
I try to move the hand with a taser away from my neck.
One of your arms managed to grasp her by the wrist. The convulsions working in your favor as your muscles go rigid. Lurching to the side, you manage to make her arm hang outwards. She's repeating under her breath, shit, 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 shit. And her left hand is sliding to her waistband.
Keeping one hand on the one with a taser, I try to use my other hand to keep her from pulling whatever weapon she has in her clothes there.
Roll act under pressure, please. With your coolness modifier.
Do you? Okay, let's roll. Oh dear. Yeah, I rolled a 6, and with my -1 coolness, I get a 5.
She manages to pull her neck. She is now lurching forward with it. She's unable to aim for your center of mass, instead trying to aim for your shoulder or one of your arms. She's stabbing upwards. What do you do?
I still have my pistol in one hand,
You do, yes.
and that hand is free.
Well, you did just try to grab her. So I would say
I
this moment...
mean, can I shoot her?
You can.
And I shoot her arm.
Good thing they're so close. Go ahead. Roll violence.
Alright. Let's see, that's, oh god, I rolled 5, and with my violence, that's 8.
Your gun goes off. Doesn't hit its mark, though. Your bicep is nearly bisected by her blade. Roll plus fortitude.
Let's see. Wow, that's plus 3, so... I rolled 13, and with my modifier, that's 16.
The knife sticks in its wound. It's superficial. Dear God, does it hurt. But it's stuck. And she's struggling with it. You can get another shot on her.
I also ram the butt of a pistol in her face.
Go ahead. Yes, you can do that. Please roll violence.
Oh god, that's 20.
Do you want to knock her out or kill her?
I want to knock her out.
A distinct crack is heard when you jam the barrel of the pistol against her, using it as an extension of your fist like a goddamn brass knuckle. Spittle and a bit of vomit comes up from her mouth as her body seizes. Her arm goes rigid, but her attention wavers. She struggles to breathe. Her spine starts to go limp, and it's not long before she crumples back, only held back by her hand. She looks as though she is a discarded doll at this point. There is no will behind her joints.
Can I see through the illusion?
Why, yes, you can. Roll with your soul modifier to do so.
That's plus 2, so let's see. I got 5.
You see it. This is what you wanted. Each of those who now lay either dead or dying in front of you, they were people like you, yet they look disfigured. Lines starting at the middle finger down to the shoulder, and the same for their legs, have been cut as though an entire layer, not of skin, but of their hand, of their fingers, of their arm, you can see directly through it. And when you let the woman go limp in your arms, whatever was holding that body together has been cut. There is no blood on the ground anymore. There's only the smearings of oil. Their mottled flesh is cold. What do you intend to do?
First of all, I take Beatty's weapons off of her.
A taser and a knife.
Right, I'll just stop it away for now. Reload my pistol and everything. Can I restrain her somehow?
With what?
Strip of clothing torn from one of her corpses.
You manage to make your way there. The distant sounds of police sirens begin to ring. Paul Harris? You reach the address that was given to you. By the time you park the car alongside a coffee shop and a boutique, 3 gunshots fire off.
Yeah, he's going to hurry on in with his with sidearm drawn. I'm assuming it wasn't like, I'm assuming it was somewhere in particular and not just
Oh, yes.
3 in the open air.
You manage to get out of your car. People from the coffee shop are running. People from the boutique are cowering inside, and the sidewalk is clearing. The focal point of all this seems to be the alley. With sidearm drawn, you manage to reach there by the second shot. At the very end, you see the silhouette of a man pistol whipping someone.
Yeah, he's going to take aim and yell out to them to drop their gun.
Gert, a voice calls out to you, tells you to drop your weapon.
And I recognize that voice.
Yes, you do.
Tell Paul to cut it out and come over here and help me already.
He's not going back down. He's just going to stand at the edge.
Do you look at him, Gert?
I'm currently busy trying to get some rope, aren't I?
You could be. You also have a gun trained on you.
Yeah, but it's from someone I know. Oh.
Paul Harris, would you like to influence Gert's actions?
Yeah.
I would ask of you to roll charisma.
10.
The only one that makes sense right now is the second option. Gert, Paul calls out to you in an authoritative voice, and it strikes you deeply. If you do not comply with the following, you will lose 1 stability. And what would this message be, Paul, as you train your sights on this man?
All his message would be to drop the gun and step toward him.
I'm pissed, but I comply.
You drop the gun. Do you show him your hands?
I do.
Paul, he's disarmed himself. You have the floor.
He's essentially going to move in. And it'd be safe to say he probably has, like, handcuffs within reason on himself, considering he was driving to 3 ominous homes.
It would be fair to say that, yes.
Yeah, he'd put those on him.
Do you resist getting cuffed, Gert?
I don't resist beyond verbal protest. Scream something about reality falling apart around us.
You hear that
Oh, Paul.
distinct metal click, Paul.
So now he's going to take in the entire situation beyond just man in alleyway.
2 people are dead. One is shot in the head, the other shot in the chest. There's a woman, you're not sure if she's dead or alive, but there is a dent in her skull.
So
Neither men appear to be armed, and the woman appears to be stripped of a taser and a knife.
So he's going to try and bring Gert to his feet. So you mind explaining anything that happened here?
Well, I was visiting an acquaintance. That girl over there, like the family member of a friend. Anyway, she was acting weird the entire time. Then these 2 guys showed up. They attacked me. She attacked me. And I shot the both of them and I knocked her out.
He's going to nod to the firearm that he was holding. And that's yours.
Yes.
And they just attacked you just out of nowhere?
As far as I can tell, yes. They apparently didn't like the look of me.
Is there anyone watching from anywhere near the situation?
They've cleared
But
out,
I know.
but the distant sirens are getting closer.
Listen, Paul, we need to get her out of here. And we need to keep her restrained somehow. We can't get the police. We can't let the police have her.
What more do you know that you can say in a short while? He's saying as he's just going to move his way to the body. Well, body of the woman, not any of the other 2. Is there anything, like, strange about her?
Her flesh appears mottled, but to you, she just looks like an unfortunate junkie.
He's gonna do a vague check for pulse because considering the skull.
It's there, but she's non-responsive.
He's just going to look back up to Gert.
Do I still have that knife stuck in my arm?
Yes.
All right, I was more concerned with the firearm. That you seem to be fine with that. But he's going to nod to that. You need medical attention for that?
Not right now. We don't have time for this. We need to get out of here.
Yeah, well, I'm not really getting too much evidence to support that.
The sirens become loud as the alleyway is
Listen,
painted
Paul,
with a
these guys.
neon.
Oh, let me make this really fucking clear here. If we don't get this girl out of here, then whoever comes to get these buddies is going to make her disappear right alongside them. I
And
can't
how certain are you of that?
as certain I can be in the state that I'm in.
The sound of swerving tires. And it's not long before you hear the slamming of car doors. Footsteps approach rapidly. A figure appears at the end of the alleyway. BRPD, hands where I can see them. Aimed.
Paul's going to stand up from the body. Already ahead of you guys. He already had his.
I
his
said
firearm
hands.
put back. He's going to put his hands back up.
The gun moves to Gert.
I raise my handcuffed hands.
There's a pause.
Like I said, already got him.
The officer wavers for a moment. And he levels the gun. Who here has the highest reflexes?
Let me see. I have +1.
It's me. 2.
Gert,
And I.
the bullet is being
roll-
fired directly at you. You can evade and duck for cover. Maybe run away. Or you can take the hit. The choice is yours.
Will there be any way for Paul Harris to assist, or is this?
You can roll to assist if you wish.
Can I roll officer, then use the take cover edge?
That's more for direct combat.
Fair enough.
Unless you're willing to open fire on this and have Paul Harris do the same.
I'm not willing to do that. I can't be sure Paul is really on my side right now. So I'll just go for cover right now.
Please roll with your reflex modifier.
And Paul Harris is willing to assist.
Let's see, I got 10.
That'd be the helping or hindering, right?
Yep. So go ahead and roll for that.
God, roll attribute. I'm at 12.
12?
12 for my roll.
Okay. So you get +2 to your roll, Gert.
Okay, then I have 12.
You feel the bullet, or more accurately, you feel the chunk of brick chip off against your head. That was an attempt at killing you. Pivoting with unnatural grace, the officer within seconds takes aim at Paul Harris.
Paul Harris is going to fire back this time.
Act under pressure.
Yep. So it'd be 17.
Let it not be said that the feds do not train their own. You're quick on the draw. Within seconds, you manage to pull a shot to his gut. He crumples onto the ground. Something isn't right here, Paul. That wasn't procedure.
This is where he's going to move to Gert and undo his handcuff.
You could undo his handcuff, or by the time 2 more officers take his place, you could also run.
So, is there any cover nearby?
Gert is currently hiding behind a dumpster, but right now, there is not. Everything is too soft of cover to be of any use, and if they're going to open fire, this is a killing line.
It's where he's going to move farther down the alley. Well, not closer to where the shooters would be, but the other way.
Are you going to take Gert with you?
As much as he can.
All right, Gert. You see Paul booking it down the way. Do you follow?
Yes, I follow.
By the time you make it to the other side of the alley, you're given mere seconds to move to the left before a hail of bullets erupt from the alley. A vehicle peels to your side, and in a split moment, the passenger side door opens. A woman glances to Paul, and she just motions with her hand as fast as she can. The van is black. It has no windows.
Difficulty of the lose-lose situation is he's going to have to take that option. He's going to try to get Gert in the car.
By the time you pull him in by the chains, the van's already moving. If you were any less quick than you naturally are, chances are he would have been dragged. Takes quite a bit of effort to close the door behind him.
Oh, please, get these handcuffs off.
No, I already would have been starting on that by the time that door closed.
And while you two are occupied, the driver, a skinny, deathly pale man, pays you no heed and continues to write something in a notebook. The van just books it. You would have thought this would have ended in a high-speed chase. But after that, no cars came for you. No one will answer your questions. You're given some help to get the knife out of your shoulder. Some bandages. But no one will give you answers. No one will speak to you. That is, until you're loaded into what could only be described as the garage of a long-abandoned auto repair shop. There seated, you will see a few other people. Robert Morgan with a bandage over his head, with someone trying to flash a light in his eyes. And Francis Graham, who seems no more different than he normally does.
As a question, am I still out?
You are currently conscious. But up until now, you don't remember anything. This is when you gain consciousness. How you got here was the minute that they were sure that they weren't followed, both of you got sacked, and you had no means of knowing where you were going until you got here. Paul, you're nudged by the skinny, gangly man to keep walking. There are two metal chairs presented to you. And Gert. No one has spoken to you, and you're experiencing, for the first time, a reunion. Though some of you seem a bit worse for wear. Francis, do you have anything to say to the returning faces?
I'm gonna look between the two that are currently conscious, and do I notice the bandages around Gert's arm?
Oh, yes. The lighting in here might be bad, but it's not that bad.
I'm going to lean in, and enough so I can whisper slightly. Do you want me to kiss it to make it better?
There's just a general
With it,
shake of his head as he's still kind of coming back. He doesn't necessarily hear you.
I put my hand on Gert's little wound to say, "What about you?" With a nice little smile. Nice, my eyes slightly closed, seeming very friendly. This is a seducer roll. And I rolled 14. So I have two options. I'm going to give him +2 stability.
And your second?
I'm going to keep that one for later.
Very well. Gert, something otherworldly presses against you. It's warmth. You haven't felt this since you got stuck in a K-hole and someone just got you some really good stuff. Something unnatural is gracing your mind, putting you at ease. You're unable to see or feel that this is anything other than natural. Francis is your friend. You can always rely on him. He just has one of those faces. He has one of those voices. How do you respond when you feel this ease towards him?
Can I see through the illusion?
You could, if you really want to. Do you want to risk it?
I don't want to risk it. It's not worth it for this.
Very
Yeah,
well.
you got me.
Mark an increase of 2 stability, Gert.
Ew. I'm still composed. I can't really go above composed, now can I?
You lost some sanity from before.
Oh.
So, the familiar man of color wearing the jeans and t-shirt glances between the gathered group. You should have a seat, mes amis. This is unexpected, and someone who will better explain this to you will be here very shortly.
Now, what's the issue with you explaining it to us?
The man glances to you, and he blankly stares at you. He turns his head on a slow pivot and says, I make sure the assets do not die. That is my job. I do not know this situation. Do not ask me. It's best that I not know, if you understand.
Yes, of course, although you do need to work on your timing a little.
They come as they please. That is not something I can control. But you will know that your apartment was raided and your belongings burned. You may see me as coming late, but that agent, was early. And that is all I know. He pulls back.
I just sort of give my head a final shake. And just who exactly are they? I say, holding my face.
Now that is a question that perhaps you'd be better off not knowing. But considering the state of your daughter, chances are you will not live a normal life, so long as you live. He smiles placidly.
As soon as he says, daughter, like, I was, lean forward a little bit, my face in my hand, and as soon as he says that, I'm instantly, like, up and looking at him. What did they do? Not on my feet, but, like, looking up directly at him.
As any good warlord does, my boy. They are keeping her safe in hospital, but that is likely to change. And as he says that...
Sorry, go ahead.
And as he says that, a door from the inner office is open. And a woman crosses through. She is in anti-ballistics. Her vest is visible. She is wearing jeans that have been padded. And there's very clearly a shotgun on a sling around her. Her skin is dark. Perhaps darker than you've seen before. Still natural. She glances before the group, before saying, I will make one thing clear. You owe us for this. And we expect assistance in what is to come. Miss Amy, do you understand? If we had let you flounder any longer, what would happen? You there, man with the strange name, Jert? What do you think would happen? To you, specifically.
Oh, if the police doesn't gun me down, as they already tried, then I'll either die to an overdose, give in to my 9mm retirement plan, or get sucked into some tear in the rift between worlds.
A nihilist. Quaint. The reality is that the 9mm retirement plan, you will die slower until they peel back what you are. They know how much you've seen through the veil, and they cannot let those memories live. You there. One was the dent in his head. Robert?
My eyes have been locked on the man, and my head slowly swivels to her. And just like staring. He's not necessarily angry, but more suddenly alert.
Does she really look like your daughter?
Was that the guy that said that, or
The woman. She's the only one talking. Everyone else has quieted.
I'm afraid I don't understand your question.
Does she really look like your daughter? Do you realize that the moments that they ask of her, she will cut you from cock to brain?
And his head just kind of slowly turns. I don't understand.
You won't. But you will soon. You disgusting thing. I think you would have a bright future with them. She gestures in Francis's direction. Clearly she doesn't like him. You have a certain gift. She spits. But the gifts that they will give you, they will be short. They will strip you of what you are. And Mr. Harris, you should trust your senses. You are playing in a losing game. Now, I have brought you here because I need something from each of you. Something that only you can give me. And I've had my eyes on you for quite a while.
Now don't make me blush now.
If you speak to me again in that voice, I will show you how we remove cancers. She turns and pointedly stares at Francis.
I just give a gentle smile.
She's nonplussed. And she looks away from you. Each of you know some facet of what is going on, and I will give to you the answer. You're all dead men now. But your chains will remain. What they do not expect is for you to remember this. They will expect that the seed they have planted in your brains to remove the memories so that they can try again. We will remove the seed. Do you have moments where you feel as though you're not in control of your body? Anyone here?
Yes.
Yes.
Just recently, in fact.
Would have been a dark trip, though.
I'm not gonna say anything because she told me to stay quiet. I'm just gonna sit there and smile.
You see, the ecstasy from the drugs, they let you see something, Jert. They let you see the truth for just a little bit. There are reasons why you do not remember that truth. But we know. We know how to help. When you are no longer in control of your body, they are being operated by somewhere else. Now we will give this to you. We will give you freedom, and we will give you your lives. But you will have to give something back to us, beginning with joining us. We are the keepers of Elysium. We make sure accidents like yourself do not happen. Those that become aware filter through us. And we make sure to keep the people that need to be asleep, asleep. We hide in plain sight. Our captors are all around us, and will subject you to fates worse than death if they find you. Do you have any questions?
More than you're willing to answer.
I have all the time in the world.
Let's start with asleep. And he just turns his head again.
Jert, when you see, and I mean truly see, do you not see the world as it is?
I see a lot of things that are hard to describe, to say the least. Certainly horrifying to look at.
And Mr. Harris, you've seen things that have been, as they say, redacted. Hello?
You did just address Harris, right?
Yes.
Oh, I got confused. Paul's just been sitting there with his arms crossed. He's just gonna kind of just silently watch.
I said, have you not seen things that are, as they say, redacted?
I'm just wondering how you're aware of all the redacted things.
We know things. But I answer one question first. We are bound by these things. They make us awake to what is going on with our world. So when I say sleep, it is those that take comfort in the illusion. When you are awake, you see things as they are, though perhaps not as fluently as one might like. Does that answer your question, Robert?
I suppose as well as it possibly could. My second question. Why us? And I look at the group left and right.
Because you're
Why
dead men.
him?
You're-
As I finished that statement, it's why him? And I point at Francis.
Because you're all dead men.
I have a nice little bashful look about being pointed out.
You said dead men before. But I feel like we're dead from more outside situations. I wasn't asking why you picked us. I'm asking why us in general.
Because you have nowhere to run.
I'm assuming it's more of a we've all had past situations, is what they're referring to.
You
To our collective knowledge.
You all have been marked for death. Why we've chose you is because you are on just the right track. Mr. Francis could have very easily not been in this group. Matter of fact, there was 2 others. They were killed this morning. Dragged into Inferno itself, I imagine. We found charm marks on their buildings, but I digress.
My eyes are opening wide at this information, not in fear, but in a sort of glee.
The fact of the matter is, you are the next batch of those marked to go through this all again. So, we offer you a better deal. You remain loyal to us, and you get to keep being dead men for just a while longer. Does that answer your question?
For now.
Now, if you want to continue being dead, there's something that we must first address. The powers that be, they are strong, and they own most of the world. Their attention can be distracted. We will take someone important in exchange for this diversion, so that their eyes are no longer on you. We will instead ask you to clear house, as they say. Francis is familiar with a man named George Tenenbaum, I believe. He has fucked his wife many a time. Now, that man and his family, child, sisters, mother, father, and wife must be taken off the board. We will give you a time and a place. Get rid of them, and we will consider the debt to be repaid. If you do not accept, you are free to leave. You are free to step into Inferno itself. Now I ask of you, which are willing to leave? Her eyes sweep along those gathered.
Paul Harris doesn't move from his crossed arm position.
I'm just thinking about how much I always wanted to go for that man.
As she looks over the group, I think I do too. I start on my left and go over my right again. And I just sort of like visibly not really relax, but like settle down more. And just sort of keep looking.
Now, we have a deal with one of the powers that be. He will give you something in exchange for a gift we will give to you. You need not open the box. You just need to deliver it and receive your gift, and it will help you. Now, are you willing to assist us in this sensitive matter?
One more question. What happened? Really happened at the warehouse?
The warehouse. Oh. One of our own died there. We don't know what it was that targeted him, but we can say that the explosive was not us. But I can say that whatever is happening, they are trying to disrupt the careful balance we have. Now that the military is getting involved, I have half a mind to say that The governor, who's under the power that be his thumb, might have used that event to artificially accelerate things. But for our own to be attacked, I hear they did not find the body. Now I have a question for you, Robert. Who did you see that died or survived that?
There was a figure in the basement. I didn't really get a very good look at him. Threw himself into the water.
Yes, but who died? Who survived?
There's a female bashed to death. Terrible tears. Very bloody. A male. He had a stupid stage name, Joseph Starr, I believe. And there was a male, also dead, if I remember correctly. Though I didn't get as good a look at him.
Did you see how was Joseph killed?
We found the murder weapon eventually. I believe it was a ball-peen hammer, as I remember. The events leading up to the bomb are...
No. There was one man and one woman dead. Yes?
Yes.
Was not Mr. Starr the living one?
I apologize. That must have hit me harder than I thought.
So how did he
Yes.
die?
I'm not aware of his current state. I assume he died in the explosion.
No. They say he was taken to the hospital. He was pronounced dead.
I don't know. I have no memory after the explosion, up until a certain point.
So you're saying that he was, indeed, alive for a moment?
Long enough to speak and be spoken to. He seemed lucid, was able to answer questions.
Yes. I think it was seizure, stroke. Strange, but
Certainly a strange coincidence.
yes, that must have been our agent. If what you say is true, then you said he went into water? She folds her hands, cracking her knuckles, confused for a moment.
From what I could tell and remember, yeah.
And just sort of nod. The events are fuzzy, but as I remember them, yes.
Was there not anything? He couldn't have just disappeared under the water.
I was the closest to him. And that was exactly what happened. Submerged into the water. I tried to tell everyone to back up, and shortly after that was when we all discovered the bomb planted.
This could be worse than I thought. No matter. We will assist you in removing what curses you, for the time. The mark placed on you that gives them control. It is not like the others. The others can awaken on their own, but you four, because you are marked for death, in case they fail, it seems, they wish to be able to alter your memory, regardless of your direct value to them. I do not know the extent in which they controlled you, though. But we will talk of that later. And she steps back, and she gestures from the door that she entered from. There are beds here. You may spend the night. We will work on getting their attention so that their attention on you falters. And perhaps you will be able to continue life as normal for just 2 more days. The gangly man walks up to the door, opens it by twisting the knob and pushing it, but he steps away. Do all 4 of you accept her hospitality?
Paul Harris will. Doesn't really see any other option as being better.
Yeah, sure. Same. I don't really have anything else to do.
Staying, accepting.
Just before accepting, how many people are in the room? Aside from the gangly man, the woman, and the other man.
There are 4 other figures here. They're wearing balaclavas. They're wearing very dark clothing. Some are wearing camouflage, some aren't.
I think I'll accept the hospitality. Though I do get cold in the middle of the night, I might have to procure extra covers.
The people keep you at arm's length.
So sad.
And thus, we reach the end of our session.